So yesterday I was browsing my comments on yesterday's video, and I was reading them like I normally do, because I do read my comments. I'm not one of those YouTubers that's like, oh, I read my comments, and I don't. I actually do. Even if I don't like them or heart them, I promise you I see most of them. And I was reading them, and I saw this one comment in specific that was like, yo, bro, we need more stories about Sarah. It was something along those lines. I'll put it up on the screen. And it got me thinking. I was like, yo, I have a million stories with her. Maybe not a million. That's kind of an exaggeration by like a lot. But I have quite a few, probably at least 4 or 5 from that, couple years I was in LA, because she was one of my closest friends. And for anyone that didn't see yesterday's video, let me give you some backstory. I told a story yesterday, and there was this person in the story named Sarah who threw hands with some people that stole from me. And she was a pretty wild fighter. And I was saying in the story, like, she's just one of those people that you don't mess with. She's like really, really like not someone to mess with. And she's just super fearless. And she was one of my first friends in LA and one of my closest friends in LA. And I guess I'm going to talk more about her today because I have another story that's pretty damn insane that involves her. So I guess to really go on with this story, I should probably tell you guys about how I met Sarah. So I met her through a mutual friend, okay? I met her through a friend of mine named Alex. He was one of my first friends in LA. He was also kind of a YouTuber. He wasn't one of those YouTubers that like had his face on the internet and like had a personality on the internet. He just ran a really big YouTube channel. It was one of those like viral video YouTube channels. And I met him out in LA like the first week I lived there. And then he introduced me to one of his ex-girlfriends who was Sarah. We were at a party one night. He was talking to her. I came up to them and he was like, yo, this is my ex, Sarah. And I was like, your ex? And he's like, yeah, we're still super close friends. And I was like, damn, that's rare. Because it is, dude. Like, I never meet people who are like, oh, yeah, I'm really good friends with my ex still. Like, that's usually not how it works. Usually there's like animosity. But I met Sarah there. And within a few weeks, we got pretty close. Like, we just hung out a lot because she was into a lot of the same video games I played and like liked all the same music and kind of had the same interests. And it really was like on some homie shit. It wasn't like I was trying to get with her, she was trying to get with me. It was like we just literally were good friends and we had a lot in common and we got really close as friends really fast. And we were hanging out pretty much like 3 times a week, I'd say. And yeah, she was the homie. So this story time takes place about 1 month after yesterday's video. So about a month after all that went down, I'm in my apartment one day. I had just woken up. Literally, I think my eyes had just opened and I was doing what I always do every morning. And that's I open my phone and check all the notifications I missed. And I missed a text from Sarah at like 4:30 in the morning. And it was like some meme or some shit. And I like replied to it and just said LMAO when I woke up. And she was like, oh, you're finally awake. I was like, yeah, what's up? And she's like, holy shit, I've been bored. I'm trying to do something today. And I was like, what are you trying to get into? And she was like, I don't know. You want to come shopping with me? And I was like, okay. Now, I ain't gonna lie, going shopping with one of my girl best friends didn't sound that fun because I'm gonna be in a bunch of women's stores and she's probably looking at shit like bras and like tops and stuff, and I don't really care. But also, she was the homie and I want to get out of the house, and I knew if I was going shopping for some like masculine shit that she didn't care about, she'd probably still come with me because she was my friend. So I was like, yeah, I'll go with her. So yeah, like 10 minutes later, Sarah was at my house, or my apartment, I should say, and I was not ready yet because she got there way too fast. So I had to like quickly get ready super fast. I took like a 2-minute shower, like dried off super quick, got dressed, threw deodorant on, ran downstairs. Then I ran back upstairs because I forgot to brush my teeth, then ran back downstairs. I got in her car and she was like, you're late. And I was like, you're early. And she was like, whatever. And we ended up going to this like shopping center in LA, and we were there for about, I don't know, probably an hour or two. It was actually a lot more fun than I thought it'd be. I thought she was going there to get some like girly shit, but we ended up checking out a lot of other cool stores too. Like we went to this one like vintage video game store that was really cool, and we checked out some other stores. And yeah, shopping I'd say was pretty fun, pretty successful. After spending a couple hours at that shopping center, we left. We then went to a food spot. It was actually the same food spot, the same diner that me and Sarah had gotten kicked out of that I talked about yesterday. You'd think we'd be banned from there, but for some reason we just weren't. So that's kind of hilarious. But anyway, yeah, we ate there, spent about an hour there. And towards the end of us eating, Sarah looked at me and she was like, now what do we do? Like, what do we do for the rest of the day? I'm bored. I want to keep hanging out. And I was like, honestly, dog, I have no idea. And she was like, we could go like hiking. And I was like, sure, why not? So we end up going to this random hiking trail. And before I even continue, I never hiked, and neither did Sarah. Like, I don't mind hiking. I actually think it's really, really cool and really, really peaceful, especially now, like in my 20s. But back then, when I was still like a teenager living in LA, I did not care to do it. I was like just super lazy. I just wanted to sit at home all the time and not exercise. But, I thought, why not? It'll probably be beautiful. Let's do it. So we went to this hiking trail, a very famous hiking trail in LA. It went up a huge mountain, and then at the top, you were at this big peak. You could overlook the city. And we started this hike. And we went with no water, which was so stupid because like 10 minutes into it, I was thirsty as fuck. I was sweating. It was hot out. And I was out of shape. And I was like, damn, I should have brought fucking water. And so was Sarah. Sarah was like, dude, this sucks. I don't know why I said we should go hiking. And I was like, yeah, whatever. It'll be fine. And she's like, should we just turn around and go back? And I was like, nah, man, like we're in it now. Like, let's do it. And she's like, okay. So we end up hiking up the entire trail to the top of this mountain. And we did it. We got to the top. It felt pretty good. I'm not going to lie to say that we did it. And we hit the peak and we did the trail. And yeah, that was it. We made it up there and we were like, okay, cool. Now it's time to turn around and go back down, which was going to be a lot easier than going up because yeah, going uphill sucks a lot more than going downhill. So yeah, we started going back down. And like I said, it was a lot easier, not a very steep, downhill walk. It was pretty easy. And we're just enjoying the walk back, right? Now, all of a sudden, halfway through our walk, I see something out of the corner of my eye. Out of my left eye, in some of like the bushes on the left of this mountain, I hear like this weird noise, or should I say noises, and the bushes are kind of moving. And it was obviously an animal of some sort. And I was like, oh shit. Because this could mean a few things. This could mean something as serious as like a mountain lion, which might try and eat me alive, or something not that serious, like a bird or some birds or something. Now, I'm not gonna lie. The noise that I heard did not sound like some birds. It sounded like a weird, faint growl or something, right? And me and Sarah looked at each other because she heard it too. And she goes, all right, let's just keep moving. So we walk past the bush very quickly. And we're walking as fast as we can because we know, like, if there is something serious in that bush, we don't want to face it. And when we get like 8 feet past the bush, we hear noises behind us. And we turn around. And on the trail, right behind us, is a big fucking mountain lion. And I had never seen one in person before. And this thing looked fucking scary, dude. It wasn't as giant as I thought they would be, but it was still big enough to terrify me. And it was still horrifying looking because the face it was making was violent as hell. It was like showing its teeth and like growling at us. And it was in like a stance, like it was about to run. And I was like, oh shit, like we're about to get mauled by a fucking mountain lion. And this is going to be my final moments. I'm not going to be able to make any more videos. I'm going to have to hand the channel off to my mom or something, and she's going to have to upload a video being like, hey guys, it's Austin's mom. He died from a mountain lion attack. Like, I really thought this was the end, right? And Sarah looks at me and she goes, stay still. Don't move. Be calm. Now, I have no idea what to do when you see a mountain lion, okay? Especially back then, I had no idea what to do. I'm not even sure if Sarah knew what to do, but I listened to her. I was like, all right, I'm just going to stay still. And this mountain lion just kept growling and like getting low. He was about to pounce and like run at us. And Sarah goes, okay, start stepping backwards slowly. Start walking slowly. Keep your eyes on the mountain lion. Don't turn around and run. And I was like, okay. So we both start stepping backwards very slowly. And the mountain lion starts stepping towards us very slowly. And I was like, dude, can this guy just get a job? Can this mountain lion turn the fuck around and go somewhere else and do mountain lion things? Like, why is he fucking with us? Or she, I don't know what it was, but why is it fucking with us? And yeah, I was pretty terrified. And we just keep slowly walking backwards, slow as we can. And the mountain lion's still growling at us, and, like making noises and walking towards us. But it hasn't like pounced or ran at us yet, so that was good. But it wasn't really giving up either. It just kept like slowly following us and growling. And we probably got about 10 to 20 feet when all of a sudden this mountain lion just randomly like snapped and like put its paws up and made like a super loud screaming sound and then just started running towards us. Full speed running towards us. And that's when I just stood still and I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die. This is it. Like, I thought it was it before, but now I really think it's it. And Sarah, out of nowhere, just goes into like survival instinct mode. And she like puts her foot up and then stomps down on the ground in front of the mountain lion before it approaches us. And she goes, ah, and screams at it and like puts her hands up in its face. And it turned around and ran away. Like just full speed darted in the other direction. She scared the mountain lion away. She didn't touch it, didn't hurt it. She just stomped down and like put her hands up and screamed at it in the face and it ran. I can't believe it worked. To this day, I cannot believe that we got so lucky that that worked. Like, I don't know if that was the right thing to do in that situation. I've heard in the past, like online and like from people, that certain animals, if they're trying to attack you, it's good to try and like assert dominance and like make loud noises to scare them off. But like what she did, I don't know, she got really close to it and I just can't believe it worked. I don't know, but it worked. I remember looking over at Sarah when the mountain lion finally ran away and I looked at her and I was like, give me a hug. And she like came over and gave me a hug and I was like, thank you. You just saved my life. I owe you forever. And she goes, it's fine. I can't believe that worked. And I was like, me neither. Where the fuck did you learn to do that? She goes, I don't know. I just thought that'd be the right thing to do. And I was like, well, I guess it was in that situation. Anyway, after this, we walked back down the trail very quickly, very fast, almost in a sprint. And we got back to the car, got in, and we drove back to my apartment. Now, that is not where the story ends. I'm just getting started. That's a story before the story. I just had to include that because it made this day even more insane. So after we went back to my apartment and we're hanging out there in my living room, we're just kind of like chilling, right? We were watching some movie on the TV, like just scrolling our phones, sitting down on the couch, not doing shit, right? And we didn't really want to do anything because like after the day we just had, we were like, you know what? I think we're just going to chill inside, watch movies at the apartment, and then we'll go our separate ways later that night, right? Like she'll go home and that'll be the end of it, right? Well, at about 9 or 10 p.m., at this point, it's been a while, right? It's getting late. And we're both pretty hungry again. And we were both hungry, but we didn't really know what we wanted. Like, I was looking at food to get delivered, but we didn't really want anything on there. And we were both just kind of like feeling like snacks. So I was like, hey, why don't we go across the street to the gas station and we just like get snacks there? And she's like, bet. So we left my apartment. We walked across the street, down the street to like this gas station and went in there, bought a bunch of candy and bullshit and drinks and like just a bunch of shit, right? And after that, we started walking back to my apartment to go and eat them and keep watching Netflix. And about halfway through our walk, we're passing by this lady, okay? Clearly a homeless lady. She was literally laying on the sidewalk on some cardboard. She had like a cup to put money in. And that shit always made me sad to look at. It really did. And like whenever I did have spare cash, I would give it to them because that shit sucks. It does. But unfortunately on this day, I had no cash. I had nothing on me. Couldn't give her anything. So I just had to walk by. And after me and Sarah walked by, this homeless lady jumps up off the sidewalk and she comes up behind us and taps me on the shoulder. And I turn around and I was like, hey, what's up? And she goes, you're just gonna ignore me like that? Like screams it at me. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't have any cash. I would if I could. Like genuinely, I'm sorry. And she goes, I've been homeless for 4 years. Like, it's hard out here. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. And she was like, sorry doesn't buy me dinner tonight. And I was like, if you want dinner, I'll go buy dinner for you right now. There's a McDonald's 2 blocks down the street. I will get it for you and bring it back. And like, I will pay for it with my card. And she was like, no, I want cash. Now, when she said this, I was like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I'm literally offering to buy her dinner and bring it to her, but now she's saying she just wants cash. It's like, okay, oh, whatever, right? There wasn't much more to talk about, so I just said, I'm sorry, have a nice night. And me and Sarah tried to keep walking. When all of a sudden, this homeless lady jumps in front of us. And she goes, I'm not done talking to you motherfuckers. And I was like, I don't know what else there's to talk about, ma'am. Like, I'm sorry, but please move. And she goes, no. And she gets real up in my face, real close. And she goes, I have nothing to lose. I'll fucking smack you. And I was like, oh, that's not very nice. And then Sarah gets between us and goes, that's not going to happen. Please turn around and go about your night. And she's trying to be nice, which honestly, knowing Sarah, she was being very nice. Usually she was a lot faster to go from like 0 to 100. And this homeless lady goes, oh, who are you? The girlfriend? You ain't shit. And Sarah's like, Whatever you say, ma'am. You should probably get moving, though. And then the homeless lady said some absolutely wild shit. I can't even repeat it because it's against YouTube TOS. But she called us a slur, which is insane, and then threatened both of our families. She said she was going to hurt our families. Can't say exactly what she said because it's very brutal. And then she tried to wind her fist back and swing over Sarah towards my head, to which I jumped back. And I was like, yo, calm the fuck down. And Sarah gets up in her face super hard and was like, if you lay a finger on him, you won't be sleeping on the ground tonight. You'll be sleeping underground. And to this day, that is the most savage, most brutal, insane thing I've ever heard Sarah say. And definitely the most brutal thing I've heard towards a homeless person. That is just wild. I actually almost felt bad for the lady. But at the same time, she just threatened our families and was being very, very violent. She literally tried to throw a punch at my head. So at the same time, I didn't feel too bad. But just one of the most insane things I've ever heard anybody say to a homeless person ever. Like, I couldn't believe she said that. At the same time, yeah, I was happy she was defending me. That was nice. But I didn't want a fight to break out, you know? I didn't want something to happen. So I just tried to, like, stop them from, you know, killing each other. And I was like, guys, like, let's break it up. Let's keep moving. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. Come on. And the homeless lady actually kind of listened. And she turned around and started walking back towards her little, like, station, you know? And I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're good. I was like, let's go, Sarah. And we keep moving. When all of a sudden, I hear footsteps coming up behind us. And I turn around and I see this homeless lady coming towards us holding a pistol. At least it looks like a pistol. And I was like, Sarah, look. And Sarah turns around and sees it. And without even hesitating or running away or saying something, Sarah just like dives for the pistol in her hand and just completely disarms the homeless person. Like dives, grabs it out of her hand, throws it far away down the sidewalk near where I am, and then proceeds to start fighting the homeless lady. Which I didn't want to happen, obviously, but at the same time, I think this was pretty valid self-defense. Like, Sarah literally saw a weapon, then proceeded to get the weapon away from the lady, and then started fighting her to defend herself, because I think the last thing Sarah wanted was this homeless lady to, like, run away and then grab another weapon or something. So, yeah, I think she was just trying to, like, keep that from happening. Anyway, they're fighting. People on the street are starting to watch, and, like, they're freaking out because they also saw the weapon. And at one point, someone jumped on the phone with the police, and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm standing there by this pistol on the ground, right? And I'm staring at it, and I kind of like got my foot near it because I don't want anyone to like come and take it or something. And yeah, I wanted to break the fight up, but I also like didn't want to step away from this weapon, you know, this pistol on the ground and have someone pick it up and try and like mess with it or something. So I'm just standing there kind of like guarding that. And luckily, these ladies that were walking down the street saw the fight and they jumped in and broke it up. They broke it up pretty quick. The whole fight lasted pretty fast. I don't know like how long specifically, but probably not very long. I'd say maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Very quick, right? After they were broken up, obviously, you know, they're screaming at each other. The homeless lady's yelling all sorts of fucked up shit at this point. Stuff that I can't even repeat. Slurs, cuss words, stuff that's just not good. Towards Sarah. And eventually Sarah ends up walking over to me and she picks up the pistol off the sidewalk. And I was like, hey, maybe you shouldn't mess with that. And there's like people in near us that are like looking pretty freaked out, obviously. And Sarah goes, it's not a real pistol. I can just tell. And then she hits a button and the clip comes out. And it's a clip full of metal pellets. It's a pellet gun or like BB gun, whatever. It's got like the metal BBs in there. And Sarah holds it up to everyone. She's like, guys, don't worry. It's not a real weapon. She's just trying to scare people. Like, don't worry. I used to have one just like this. Like, it's fake. And I'm just standing there in shock at this whole situation. And also just shocked at how calm Sarah was. Like, for just getting into a fight and disarming somebody at the time, which she thought was a real gun. It's pretty insane. Like, she was so calm. It was crazy. Anyway, she calmed everyone down. The homeless lady was being restrained by these two other ladies on the sidewalk. And a few minutes later, the police pulled up. We were on a pretty main street, so police weren't very far. And these cops came, and immediately they restrained the homeless lady. They put her in cuffs. They like took the fake pistol, and they started talking to me and Sarah. Now this cop walks up to us, and he's like, so start to finish, like what happened? And I told him the whole story. I was like, yeah, like, you know, she came up to us and she wanted money, told her I was sorry that I didn't have any. And within a few sentences, she got really hostile. And obviously, I was a lot more specific than this. I told him everything from start to finish, like very specifically. But for the sake of the story, I'm not going through the whole thing again. But yeah, I told him everything. And he was like, yeah, unfortunately, this happens a lot. And I was like, what, people pull out pistols? He's like, no, not like that. But like, you know, homeless people getting into fights on this street, it happens a lot. And I was like, oh, yeah, I honestly had a feeling. And then he's like, yeah, do you live around here? I was like, yeah, I live across the street. He's like, okay, so you probably know what I'm talking about. I was like, yeah, a little bit. And after that, Sarah talks to him for a bit. She talks about the fight that went down. And the cops were actually pretty cool about it. They completely understood that what she was doing was self-defense because, you know, Sarah literally thought the homeless lady had a handgun and was about to shoot us. So, yeah. And they were really cool about it. Now, the homeless lady actually ended up having a previous record from what we were told, and she was a problem a lot for the police. So she went to jail that day. To be honest, I think she would have went to jail regardless, whether she had a prior record or not, because literally she was waving around a fake gun and making it look real. But yeah, she went to jail. After that, I didn't hear shit about her. And Sarah didn't really either. To be honest, Sarah seemed like she didn't want to pursue it very far. Like the cops were asking her, like, you know, what she thinks should happen. And she's like, I don't really care. Just do what you guys want to do. But here's the funny part, okay? So a few months later, I actually saw the same homeless lady. Like 3 or 4 months later, she was out. I don't know how. I don't know what happened to her. I thought she went to jail and she'd be in jail for a while. I don't know. Maybe they didn't even put her in jail. Maybe she like fucking got taken to some homeless shelter. I don't know. But I saw her 3 to 4 months later. At least I think so. I mean, if it wasn't her, it was an identical twin. And it was outside of that McDonald's I was talking about earlier on in the story. I saw her when I was getting McDonald's with my friend. And she saw me. And she made eye contact with me. But she didn't say anything. Which is honestly nice because I really thought she was gonna. I thought she was about to be like, I remember you. And then start like beating my ass or something. But she didn't. To be honest, I doubt she even remembered me. So I guess that's good. And I didn't say shit to her. I just got my food and I got the fuck out of there. And I immediately called Sarah and I was like, guess who I just saw? And she's like, who? And I was like, our friend from a few months ago that pulled out that BB gun. And she was like, holy shit. And I was like, uh-huh. And she's like, did she say anything to you? I was like, no, I don't think she even knew who I was. And she's like, holy fuck, like, I can't believe she's still around that area. I was like, yeah, me neither. But yeah, that was the end of that. I didn't see her after this. I definitely saw my fair share of other homeless people that would cause problems with me sometimes, but not her. And that was definitely one of the craziest experiences when it came to the homeless people in LA and my interactions with them. Most of the time, they were actually pretty chill. I'm not out here trying to be like, oh, homeless people are bad. Like, no. I've had a lot of great experience with the homeless out in LA. A lot of them were really nice. I actually had, I'd say, friendships with a lot of them. I'd see them and we knew each other on a first name basis, and I'd hook them up with food and shit when I could. But yeah, this one lady, man, she was very violent. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the story. That's the story. It's like 2 stories in one. Almost got killed by a mountain lion and then almost got beat up by a homeless lady. It was pretty insane. And I thought you guys would enjoy hearing about it because, you know, kind of piggybacks off yesterday's story because Sarah's in it. So that's cool. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the story time, please leave a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. And subscribe if you're new. I'll see y'all later. Peace.